She thought she married a broke nobody, but on their wedding night, she found out he was richer than she ever imagined. Before we begin this story, where are you watching from? Comment below and enjoy. The wedding hall was bursting with music, laughter, and the glitter of a love that everyone believed was meant to be. At the center of it all stood Eliza Hartwell, heiress to the Hartwell Hotel empire, stunning in her pearl-encrusted gown. Her heart raced beneath layers of tulle, not from excitement, but from confusion. Everything about this day had moved far too fast. One minute she was at a charity gala, sipping champagne, and the next she was swept up in what her family called a sensible arrangement. Her fiancé, the man her parents approved of, was supposed to be a dashing businessman named Benjamin Krause. But as she stood at the altar, gripping the hands of the man before her, something didn't feel right. His eyes, kind, dark, and piercing, weren't the cold, calculating ones she remembered from their brief meetings. The man before her smiled nervously, like he too was unsure of how they got here. Still, the priest's voice boomed. The vows were said, the rings exchanged, and just like that, Eliza Hartwell was married. It wasn't until they arrived at the hotel suite later that night that she noticed the truth unraveling. Her new husband, who introduced himself again, this time as Liam, looked utterly perplexed when she called him Benjamin. He laughed awkwardly, scratched the back of his head, and said something that would change everything. "I'm not Benjamin Krause," he whispered. "I think there's been a huge mistake." Eliza froze. Her heart pounded. She had just married the wrong man. And yet, despite everything, his worn-out shoes, the second-hand suit, and the lack of any known fortune, there was something in Liam's voice that promised more than any riches ever could. But what she didn't know was that Liam had a secret of his own, one that would shake the very foundations of her privileged world. Eliza stared at Liam, her perfectly lined lips parting in disbelief. The hotel suite, draped in white roses and gold accents, suddenly felt like a stage for the world's most absurd drama. Her heart hammered in her chest as the weight of his words settled in. "You're not Benjamin?" she asked, her voice tight with disbelief. Liam nodded slowly, clearly uncomfortable. "I'm Liam Carter. I was just helping my friend deliver suits to the venue today. I was waiting backstage, and next thing I knew, people were pushing me into a tux, handing me vows, and shoving me down the aisle. I thought it was some kind of prank, or maybe a commercial shoot, until I saw your face. Then I realized it was real." Eliza's mind raced. The Krause and Hartwell families had arranged this wedding to merge two powerful legacies. This was meant to be a strategic union, not a random accident with a delivery boy. Her parents would go ballistic. The press would have a field day. Her father, Edward Hartwell, already ruled with an iron fist. What would he do if he found out? She stormed toward the window, trying to think. Liam stood silently behind her, awkward but oddly calm. He wasn't panicking. In fact, he looked almost amused. That irritated her. "Do you understand what this means?" she snapped, turning on him. "You've just married into one of the wealthiest families in the country." Liam scratched his jaw, clearly unbothered. "Well, technically you married me. But yeah, I guess that makes me the lucky one." Eliza's fists clenched. But what she didn't realize was, Liam Carter wasn't just some ordinary man off the street. The mistake wasn't entirely a mistake at all. Eliza couldn't sleep that night. She lay stiffly on the edge of the king-sized bed, clutching her pillow like a lifeline. Liam had politely offered to sleep on the couch, but even that gesture annoyed her. Everything about him irritated her, from the way he adjusted his cheap tie to the calmness he wore like armor. By morning, her phone had exploded with congratulatory messages. The media was already buzzing with wedding headlines. Paparazzi camped outside the hotel. Her father had texted her once, "Proud of you. Don't mess this up." That made her stomach twist with guilt and dread. Meanwhile, Liam was in the kitchenette making instant coffee, humming to himself like he had no idea the magnitude of what he'd just stumbled into. "We need to fix this before anyone finds out," Eliza said sharply. "My family will sue you. You'll probably get arrested." Liam took a slow sip of coffee, unfazed. "You think I planned this? You think I wanted to get shoved into a wedding suit and marry a stranger?" He gave a half smile. "Look, I'll play along for a bit, just until we figure out how to undo this without ruining your life, or mine." She narrowed her eyes. "Why would you do that?" "Because you looked like you needed saving up there," he said simply. That threw her off more than it should have. They both knew the truth would surface soon, but what neither of them knew was that Liam's last name, Carter, carried a legacy even older than the Hartwells. A legacy buried beneath scandal, betrayal, and a fortune hidden from the world. And now, by accident or fate, Eliza was part of that secret. Eliza paced the suite like a lioness trapped in a cage, her fingers tapping furiously against her thigh. She had always been in control of her image, her decisions, her future. But now, married to a man she didn't know, whose name wasn't even on the guest list, she felt like the universe was mocking her. Liam sat calmly on the couch, scrolling through his phone. She wanted to scream at his composure. How could he be so relaxed? This wasn't some bad sitcom, it was her life. "We need a plan," she said finally, stopping mid-stride. "We tell the press we eloped on impulse. That way, when we annul it in a few weeks, no one will question it." Liam raised an eyebrow. "That's your brilliant plan? Lie to the whole world?" "It's better than telling them I married the wrong man because no one bothered to check your face before walking me down the aisle." He leaned forward, setting his phone down. "Eliza, I may not come from your world, but I'm not stupid. If we pretend this was love at first sight, the media's going to tear us apart when it falls apart. They'll call it a PR stunt. It'll damage both your name and mine." "Yours," she scoffed. "What name? You just said you're a delivery guy." His eyes darkened for a moment. "I said I was helping deliver suits. That doesn't mean that's all I am." Eliza tilted her head. "What exactly are you then?" He paused, then smirked. "Let's just say, I have my own secrets. But for now, if we're going to pull this off, we need rules. We stay married for 30 days. You handle the media, I handle your father." Her eyes widened. "My father will crush you." Liam stood. "Then it's a good thing I've dealt with men like him before." For the first time, Eliza wasn't sure who she'd really married. Eliza stood in front of the massive oak doors of her family's estate, her palms clammy despite the cool evening breeze. The sprawling mansion she grew up in had never felt more intimidating. Tonight, she was bringing Liam, her accidental husband, face to face with Edward Hartwell, the man who crushed competitors with a smile and made CEOs tremble with a glance. Liam, dressed in a sleek black suit they had scrambled to buy that morning, looked devilishly calm. He adjusted his cufflinks, then leaned in with a grin. "Your dad's not going to stab me with a steak knife, right?" "Don't tempt him," Eliza muttered under her breath. The butler opened the door and ushered them inside. The dining room was just as she remembered. High ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and a silence that pressed on your chest like a weight. Edward sat at the head of the table, expression unreadable, his piercing eyes fixed on Liam. "So this is the man who swept my daughter off her feet in secret," he said, voice like ice. Liam offered a casual smile and extended his hand. "Liam Carter, it's an honor, sir." Edward didn't shake it. Instead, he sipped his wine slowly. "I don't like surprises, and this marriage of yours smells like one." Eliza tried to interject, but Liam beat her to it. "Then maybe, sir, it's time you learn to enjoy the unexpected." There was a moment of dangerous silence, then Edward chuckled darkly, the sound sharp as glass. "I'll give you 1 month to prove this isn't a disgrace to the Hartwell name. 1 month. After that, I'll decide what happens to this union." Dinner began, and tension thickened with every bite. Liam leaned toward Eliza as the servants brought the next course. "That went better than expected," he whispered. But in her gut, Eliza knew Edward wasn't done. This was just the beginning. The ride back to Eliza's penthouse was quiet, thick with unspoken tension. She sat stiffly in the passenger seat while Liam drove, his fingers tapping rhythmically against the steering wheel. He had handled her father better than she expected. Too well, in fact. It unsettled her how unfazed he was by power. Most men crumbled under Edward Hartwell's gaze, not Liam. When they reached her building, the concierge greeted them with a bright smile, oblivious to the circus their lives had become. Liam raised an eyebrow at the luxury around him as they stepped into the private elevator. "Nice place," he said. "All this for just one heiress." "It's not a place," Eliza snapped. "It's my home, and now, thanks to this ridiculous situation, it's yours too. Temporarily." The elevator doors opened to a sleek modern space that screamed wealth. Glass walls, marble floors, and minimalist decor that cost more than most cars. Liam whistled low. "Well, this is a step up from my studio apartment." She shot him a glare. "There are rules. You stay in the guest room, don't touch anything, don't bring anyone here, and no talking to the press." Liam smirked, hands in his pockets. "You really think I'd sell out our little accident for attention?" "I don't know what you do," she said coldly. "I don't know you at all." "That's the first honest thing you've said all day." She stormed off toward her room, slamming the door behind her. Liam wandered into the guest room, tossing his duffel bag on the bed. But as he sat down, his playful expression faded. He pulled out a worn leather envelope from the bottom of the bag. Inside was a letter sealed with a crest he hadn't seen in years. The Carter family crest. He ran his thumb over it, his jaw tightening. If only Eliza knew, she hadn't married a poor man. She'd married a man the world had been trying to erase. Sleep didn't come easily for Eliza. She tossed and turned, haunted not by nightmares but by thoughts of Liam. The way he looked so comfortable in her world. The way he stared her father in the eye without flinching. And that sealed envelope he thought she didn't notice when he dropped it earlier in the hallway. Who was this man? She rose before dawn and wandered into the kitchen, needing coffee more than clarity. But as she turned the corner, she stopped cold. Liam was already there, barefoot, sipping coffee like he owned the place. The envelope was beside him on the counter, open now. A faded document peeked out. A birth certificate. She cleared her throat. "Couldn't sleep?" He looked up at her, unreadable. "You either, huh?" Her eyes darted to the paper. "That from your delivery job?" He chuckled, but didn't explain. "Just some old family stuff. You ever dig through your past and realize it's more tangled than you thought?" She arched a brow. "My past is very well organized, thank you, labeled and locked." "That's the problem," he said, eyes locking with hers. "You've been told who to be your whole life. I, on the other hand, was erased." Before she could press further, Liam tucked the paper away and pushed the envelope aside. "Don't worry, Eliza, I'm not here to mess up your perfect world, just trying to survive 30 days. She crossed her arms. "Then stop being so mysterious." Liam smirked. "And ruin all the fun?"
Eliza turned away, irritated, but a sliver of curiosity had already begun to grow inside her. She thought she had married a mistake.
But now, she wasn't so sure. The next afternoon, Eliza sat alone in her home office, reviewing reports from the Hartwell Hotel Group, but her concentration was non-existent. Her eyes kept flicking back to the memory of that worn envelope. She had seen the crest before, once, in a business article years ago. It belonged to a family that had vanished from society circles nearly 2 decades ago. The Carters. She searched the name online. Carter family fortune, Carter estate scandal, Carter Enterprises liquidation. The rabbit hole sucked her in. There were whispers of betrayal, of a hidden heir who disappeared after a bitter family feud over a $1 billion inheritance. And then she saw it. A black and white photo of a teenage boy standing beside an older man with the same stormy eyes Liam had. The caption, "Liam Carter, last seen publicly at age 17, before the Carter empire collapsed." Her breath caught in her throat. Her accidental husband wasn't just some nobody. He was the lost heir of one of America's most powerful old money dynasties. Suddenly, the pieces started clicking. His confidence, his ease with her father, his calm under pressure. Liam wasn't playing along. He had been trained for this kind of world long before she ever met him.
Eliza's door creaked open. Liam leaned in casually.
"Hey, just checking if you wanted Thai or Italian for dinner." She stared at him, unsure how to respond. "How long were you planning to keep it from me?" He blinked. "Keep what from you?" "Your real identity. Liam Carter, the forgotten heir." There was no smirk this time, just silence, thick and heavy. "So you finally know?" he said softly. Eliza's heart pounded. This marriage wasn't just an accident anymore. It was a collision of secrets, and one of them had just been exposed. Eliza stood up slowly, her chair creaking beneath her as if it too sensed the shift between them. She crossed her arms, eyes sharp and accusing. "You let me think you were poor. Why?" Liam leaned against the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Because it was easier. People treat you differently when they think you have nothing. They show their true colors. Besides, I didn't exactly expect to get married when I walked into that hotel. That still doesn't explain why you never told me after. You watched me panic, scramble to cover for both of us. You let my father threaten you." He shrugged, though something in his eyes flickered. "I wanted to see what kind of person you were under all that Hartwell pressure, and I didn't want the Carter name to ruin things again." She softened slightly, despite herself. "You're saying your name ruined things?" He gave a bitter chuckle. "My father was a great businessman but a terrible human. Greedy partners, dirty deals. By the time I was 18, the Carter legacy was crumbling and everyone wanted a piece of the fortune. I disappeared to survive. And now you're back, married to me." Liam looked at her intently. "I didn't plan this, Eliza, but maybe it happened for a reason." Her chest tightened. She didn't know what was more shocking, that she had accidentally married into another empire, or that a part of her was starting to like the man behind the name. "We made a deal," she reminded him. 30 days, that's all." He nodded. 30 days. But I have a feeling a lot can happen in 30 days. They stared at each other, two heirs carrying empires and scars. Neither knew it yet, but their collision would shake more than just their families. It would change everything. The next morning brought tension masked by routine. Liam made breakfast, scrambled eggs and burnt toast, while Eliza tried not to stare at him too long. She hated how natural things were beginning to feel. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. They were bound by a mistake, not love. But deep down, the walls around her heart were beginning to crack. While Liam hummed a tune and flipped the eggs, Eliza's phone buzzed on the marble counter, an unknown number. Curious, she picked it up. The message was short but chilling. "You don't know the man you married. Walk away before it's too late." Her stomach dropped. She reread it 3 times, fingers tightening around the phone. "Everything okay?" Liam asked, glancing at her from the stove. She plastered on a smile. "Just a spam message, probably from one of those fake lottery numbers." But her hands shook. Someone was watching, someone knew, and they didn't want her anywhere near Liam. She stepped into her office and locked the door behind her. Her mind raced. Was it someone from the Hartwell side, or someone from Liam's mysterious past? Either way, the warning felt serious.
Later that day, while Liam was out getting groceries, she searched his guest room. She told herself it was for her safety, that it wasn't snooping, it was survival.
Tucked beneath a stack of folded shirts, she found something that made her breath hitch. A photograph. Young Liam, standing beside a man she recognized. Victor Langston. Her father's fiercest business rival, ruthless, powerful, dangerous. "What the hell is going on?" she whispered. Eliza realized then she hadn't married into a fairy tale or even a hidden dynasty. She had married into a war, and she was right in the middle of it. Eliza sat on the edge of her bed, the photo of Liam and Victor Langston clenched in her trembling hands. It didn't make sense. Victor Langston was a sworn enemy of the Hartwells. Her father once called him a vulture in a suit, a man who built his fortune by tearing down others. So why was a teenage Liam smiling beside him, like a son? The front door clicked open. She scrambled, stuffing the photo under a cushion just as Liam entered with bags of groceries and a warm grin. "Got your favorite," he called out. "That overpriced chocolate ice cream that tastes like heaven and regret?" She forced a smile and walked to the kitchen. "Thanks." Something felt different. A heaviness lingered in the air. Liam noticed it too. "You okay?" She nodded too quickly, just tired. He studied her for a moment, but didn't push. Instead, he began unpacking the bags, humming softly. She watched him, her mind spinning. He was good, too good at pretending. She needed to know the truth before this game swallowed her whole. That night, after he fell asleep, she retrieved the photo and took a picture of it on her phone. Then she texted it to her childhood friend, Camille, who worked in corporate intelligence. One message. "Can you find out everything you can about Liam Carter and his connection to Victor Langston?" Within minutes, Cam replied. "Are you serious? That man was rumored to be Victor's protege. Then he vanished. People said he knew too much. Some thought he was dead." Eliza's heart pounded. She crept to the guest room door and stared at the man sleeping peacefully inside. A man she was married to. A man the world believed was long gone.
If he was Victor Langston's protege,
What exactly had he come back for? And why did it start with her? The next morning, Eliza tried to act normal. She prepared coffee, answered emails, and avoided Liam's gaze. But the questions clawed at her. Why did a so-called missing heir have ties to the man who once tried to destroy her father's empire? What kind of game was he playing? Liam was unbothered, casually scrolling through his phone at the kitchen counter. He looked up suddenly, eyes gleaming with amusement. "You'll never believe who just invited me to dinner." She raised a brow, masking her nerves. Victor Langston. The coffee mug in her hand slipped slightly. She gripped it tighter. Liam chuckled. "Relax. I haven't seen him in over a decade, but he reached out this morning, said he heard I was back in town, and married." Eliza's blood ran cold. "Did you tell him yes?" "I told him I'd think about it. Thought I should ask my wife first." She stepped closer, voice low and sharp. "Liam, that man is dangerous. If he knows you're alive, he might not be reaching out to reconnect. He might be trying to finish whatever started years ago." Liam's expression turned serious. "I'm not a kid anymore, Eliza. I'm not scared of Victor. And maybe it's time I stop running and figure out what really happened to my family." She stared at him, torn between fear and intrigue. "You're walking into a trap." "Maybe, or maybe I'm walking into answers." That night, while Liam prepared to meet Victor, Eliza made a decision of her own. If he was going to step into the lion's den, she'd be right behind him. Because if she was going to survive this twisted marriage and the secrets it came with, she needed to uncover everything. Even if it meant facing the devil himself. Victor Langston's estate sat on the edge of the city like a dark crown, lavish, sprawling, and guarded by stone lions at the gate. The car ride there was quiet, thick with tension. Liam sat calmly in the backseat, dressed in a sharp suit that made him look every inch the heir he once was. Eliza sat beside him, her heart racing. "You sure about this?" she asked under her breath. Liam's eyes never left the window. "I need to know what he wants. I need to know why he reached out now."
As they entered the grand foyer, Victor was already waiting. Time had aged him gracefully, but his eyes were still sharp, wolfish. He smiled as they approached, but it didn't reach his eyes.
Liam, alive and married, quite the twist. Liam offered a polite nod. "Victor," and Eliza Hartwell. Victor's gaze turned to her. "The union of two legacies. That must make your father livid." Eliza kept her expression neutral. This marriage wasn't exactly his idea. Victor chuckled. "Of course not. Ed would never like surprises, especially not ones he couldn't control." His dinner was served in a candle-lit hall filled with art that probably belonged in a museum. Victor asked questions casually like an old friend catching up, but Eliza could feel the undercurrent in his words, subtle jabs, veiled threats, and too much knowledge about their private lives. Finally, Victor leaned back in his chair, wine glass in hand. "Tell me, Liam, why come back now? After all these years in hiding, the world thought you were dead." Liam met his gaze without blinking. "Maybe I got tired of being a ghost. Maybe I came back for what's mine." Victor's smile widened. "Careful, boy. You know how easily things disappear in this world." Eliza's breath caught. This wasn't just dinner. It was a warning, and the war was about to begin. The room felt colder, despite the warmth of the wine and the golden candlelight flickering across Victor Langston's face. Eliza could barely taste the expensive meal in front of her. Every word exchanged at that table was a chess move, and right now, Victor was playing with a glint in his eye and a hand full of secrets. Victor leaned forward, fingers tapping against the crystal glass. "Liam, you were always clever. That's why I kept you close all those years ago. You saw through the smoke. You asked questions, dangerous ones." Liam didn't flinch. "And you hated that." Victor chuckled. "I respected it, which is why I'm extending an offer." Eliza's head snapped up. "What?" Victor ignored her and locked eyes with Liam. "You're back. That means you want something. Revenge? Power? Legacy? Doesn't matter. I can give you all of it, faster and cleaner than any Hartwell ever could. Work with me, Liam. You and I? We could build something unstoppable." Liam was silent for a moment, his jaw tightening. "And the price?" Victor's smile was razor sharp. Loyalty and distance from them. He turned his eyes to Eliza. Eliza's blood turned to ice. He was asking Liam to walk away from her, to choose power over partnership, legacy over love. Liam leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. You always did make pretty offers, but the last time I trusted you, my family was torn apart and I disappeared for 10 years. Victor's smile faded. Then, don't trust me, he said coolly. Use me. Just remember, your enemies are mine too, and that includes your wife's family. Eliza stood abruptly, her voice shaking. This dinner is over. Liam rose without a word, following her out. But as they left, Victor called out, "Tick-tock, Heir, choose your kingdom before it chooses you." Outside, the air was sharp and cold, and so was the silence between them. Eliza turned to Liam, her voice low. "If you take his deal, this marriage ends." Liam looked at her, eyes unreadable. "Then let's make sure I don't." Back at the penthouse, the city lights blinked below them like 1,000 tiny questions. Eliza stood near the glass window, arms folded tightly across her chest, watching the skyline but seeing none of it. Her mind replayed Victor's offer, his smug smile, and Liam's silence all the way home. She didn't turn when Liam walked in. "You should have told me. You knew him that well." "I didn't know if you'd believe me," he said simply. "Besides, the less you knew, the safer you were." She spun to face him. "You don't get to decide what's safe for me, Liam. Not when I'm the one risking everything by staying in this sham of a marriage." He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "This stopped being a sham the moment Victor sat us down and started making offers. We're in this now. For real." "Are we?" she asked, voice sharper than she meant. "Because right now I feel like I'm your cover story, your shield." His eyes darkened. "You think I'm using you? Aren't you?" He stepped closer. "I could have taken his offer tonight. I didn't. You want the truth? I came back for answers, for justice. But I stayed. For you." Her breath caught, but she shook her head. "I don't need you to stay for me. I need to know you're not dragging me into a war I didn't sign up for." He paused, jaw clenched. "You already are, Eliza, and it started the moment you married me." The room fell into silence. He walked past her, heading to the guest room, but before he disappeared behind the door, he turned back. "I didn't choose Victor tonight. I chose you." But what neither of them knew was that outside, across the street, a black car sat parked. Its tinted windows hid the face of a man on the phone. "Target located," he said quietly. "Instructions?" The reply was swift. "Watch, wait, and if Liam Carter steps out of line, eliminate him." The war had officially begun. The next morning arrived cloaked in tension. Neither Eliza nor Liam spoke as they got ready for their day. The air between them was thick with the things they wanted to say, but didn't. Eliza dressed in silence, her sleek power suit like armor. Liam, in a tailored jacket, checked his phone with a frown. "Another blocked number," he said, tossing it aside. "Maybe Victor's reminding you that he's watching," she replied coolly. He didn't answer. As Eliza headed out to attend a shareholders' meeting at the Hartwell Tower, she couldn't shake the unease growing in her gut. Her marriage had started as a mistake, evolved into a strange partnership, and now it felt like a ticking time bomb. Still, she didn't expect the explosion to come so soon. By midday, it did. Her assistant, pale and frantic, burst into the conference room, interrupting the presentation. "Eliza, there's a problem. It's your husband." Every head turned. "What about him?" she asked, standing slowly. "A video. It's everywhere. He's at a bar, arguing with a man, says something about your father, and a threat. The media's calling it a meltdown." Eliza's blood ran cold. "Show me." The clip played on the assistant's phone. Liam at a dim bar, arguing with a man who was clearly provoking him. The sound was clear enough to catch one phrase. "Tell Hartwell I don't bow to snakes in suits." The room erupted into murmurs. Eliza's father's name was now tied to public scandal, and worse, her husband was the face of it. She left the tower immediately, fury boiling beneath her skin. When she arrived home, Liam was already there, staring at the TV as the video looped on every news channel. "What the hell did you do?" she demanded. He looked at her, jaw tight. "That wasn't what it looks like." "Then what was it? Because right now, it looks like you just declared war on my family." He stepped forward. "I was set up. Someone wanted that footage leaked. Someone wants to divide us. Well, congratulations, she snapped. They're succeeding. Neither of them noticed the red dot, flashing quietly on the balcony railing. They were being watched. And the first strike had only just landed. Liam shut the curtains in one swift motion, his instincts sharper than Eliza had ever seen before. He moved across the penthouse like a man trained to detect danger, scanning every corner of the room. Eliza followed, still fuming but shaken by his sudden urgency. "What are you doing?" she asked. "We're being watched," he said without turning. "That leak wasn't random. Someone wants us exposed and compromised." Her voice was tight. "You're the one who stood in that bar and said my father's name like a threat. I was provoked. They knew exactly what to say to push me, and I fell for it." She crossed her arms. "So now what? We just wait for the next scandal to break. My family's board is threatening to freeze my position. They think I'm compromised. Because of you." Liam's eyes softened for a moment. "I never meant to hurt you, Eliza. But we need to stop pretending like this is about just you or me. This is bigger. My past, your family, Victor. Someone is orchestrating all of this." She turned away, pacing. "And what do you suggest? That we team up like some power couple from hell and take on the world?" Liam stepped closer. "I suggest we stop letting them divide us, because the only way either of us gets out of this clean is together." Eliza stopped. For a moment, she saw past the arrogance, the secrets, the mess. She saw the man who had taken every hit so far and was still standing by her side. "Fine," she said after a long pause, "but I need to know everything. No more secrets. Who was the man in that bar? Who set you up?" He hesitated, then walked to the safe he had quietly installed in the guest room. From it, he pulled out a thick envelope marked with a red wax seal. "This," he said, placing it in her hands, "is the real reason I came back." Eliza opened it slowly, her breath catching as she read the first line. It wasn't just about legacy. It was about murder. And her father's name was written at the center of it. Eliza sat on the edge of the couch, the envelope spread open on the coffee table in front of her. Her eyes scanned each page with growing horror. Newspaper clippings, confidential emails, an old autopsy report, all pointing to one brutal truth she couldn't unsee. "You're saying my father may have had your uncle killed?" Liam didn't respond right away. He stood near the window, staring out over the skyline, fists clenched. "My uncle, Charles Carter, was the majority shareholder of Carter Enterprises when things began to collapse. He found something illegal. He was preparing to expose it. Money laundering, off-book investments, fake shell companies. He never got the chance. Days later, he died in a supposed car accident on a private road." Aislenn's voice was a whisper. "That doesn't prove my father had anything to do with it." Liam turned to face her, eyes cold. "Your father and Victor Langston bought out the remaining assets of Carter Enterprises weeks after Charles's death, at a fraction of the value. They buried my family's legacy, Eliza. And now I know why." She swallowed hard, her world beginning to tilt. Edward Hartwell was ruthless, yes. A master manipulator, yes, but a murderer. Liam sat beside her, calmer now. "I didn't come back for revenge. I came for answers, for truth, and maybe to rebuild what was taken from me. But I can't do it alone." Eliza looked at him, unsure of where she stood anymore. She'd grown up idolizing her father, defending his legacy, but what if that legacy was built on blood? She reached for the last page in the file. A grainy photo. Her father, Victor, and a man she didn't recognize, shaking hands over a closed folder marked Confidential Project Heron. "What's Project Heron?" she asked. Liam's jaw tightened. "That's what Charles died for, trying to expose." Eliza looked up at him. "And you think I'm your way in?" He met her eyes, steady and unwavering. "No, I think you're the key to blowing it all open." Outside, the black car still waited, its passenger speaking into a phone. "They found the file. Then destroy the rest." Starting with her. Rain tapped against the windows like a warning. Eliza hadn't spoken in almost an hour, staring at the file on the table as if the pages might rearrange themselves into something less terrifying. Liam stayed close, silent, giving her space, but his eyes kept drifting to the window. He felt it. The shift. The danger closing in. She finally looked up. If this is true, my whole life's been a lie. Everything my father built, everything I inherited. Not everything, Liam said gently. You built your own legacy. You're not your father's sins, Eliza. But it's the name that opens doors. That gave me a seat at the table. Maybe it's time you pull out your own chair, on your own terms. She gave him a tired smile. You make it sound so easy. It's not, he admitted, but it's necessary. Before she could respond, Liam's phone buzzed, a message from an encrypted number. They've activated phase 2, get her out, now. His face darkened, he stood up suddenly. We have to go, now. What? Why? I think they know you've seen the file. That means you're no longer a pawn. You're a threat. A thunderous knock at the door interrupted them, not the gentle chime of a guest, not a neighbor. A warning. Liam rushed to the safe, grabbed the file and a flash drive, then pulled Eliza by the wrist. We're not safe here. But, trust me. They slipped through the private elevator exit, avoiding the front. Just as they reached the parking garage, a loud boom echoed above them, glass shattering from the penthouse balcony. Eliza screamed. Liam pulled her down behind a concrete column. They just tried to kill us, she gasped. Liam looked her in the eyes, his grip firm on her arm. And they will try again. This isn't about legacy anymore. It's survival. And they were officially on the run. The black SUV tore through the midnight streets of the city, weaving between cars as sirens blared faintly in the distance. Liam gripped the wheel with white knuckles, jaw clenched. Eliza sat beside him, dazed, trembling, and trying not to fall apart. They tried to kill me, she whispered again, as if repeating it might make it make sense. Someone actually tried to kill me. Liam didn't take his eyes off the road. Not someone, Victor, or your father, or both. They think you know too much now. And they're right. She looked at him, eyes filled with fear and betrayal. My father wouldn't. Wouldn't what? He snapped. Wouldn't destroy an entire company, wouldn't erase a family, wouldn't eliminate the one person who could expose him? Silence hung heavy in the car. Where are we going? She asked finally. To the one place they won't think to look. A safe house my uncle used to own. It's buried in the mountains, no signal, no surveillance. If we're going to fight this, really fight, we need to disappear first. They drove through the night, miles away from the city. As skyscrapers turned into trees and neon signs became fog, Eliza allowed herself to breathe. But her mind didn't rest. Her life had gone from boardroom meetings and champagne galas to shootouts, black SUVs, and a marriage forged in mistake and buried truths. And yet, Liam hadn't run. He hadn't abandoned her. He was risking his life to protect her. When they finally pulled up to a small hidden cabin in the woods, Liam killed the engine. We stay here for a few days, then we make our move. She stared at him. What move? We bring them down. Victor, Edward, everyone who thinks they own the world. And how do we do that? He pulled the flash drive from his pocket and held it up. With this, it's got proof, names, dates, accounts, everything. But someone else already knew it existed. And they were willing to kill again to stop it from ever seeing the light of day. The cabin was eerily silent, hidden beneath a thick canopy of pine and fog. Eliza wrapped her coat tighter around her as she stood on the porch, staring into the woods. The quiet didn't comfort her, it unnerved her. Like the forest was holding its breath. Inside, Liam connected the flash drive to a rusted old laptop powered by a backup generator. He scrolled through encrypted folders, each one filled with confidential documents, hidden transactions, blackmail letters, and illegal contracts. This, he muttered, this could bury them all. Eliza stepped inside, wiping her hands against her coat. What happens if we leak it? The world finds out what kind of men built our names, Liam said flatly. Hartwell and Langston will be exposed. You'll lose everything. She didn't hesitate. Then it's worth it. He looked up at her, surprised. You mean that? She nodded slowly. My life was built on lies. If I keep pretending, then I'm just part of the machine. If this takes them down, then so be it. For a moment, Liam stared at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. You're braver than you think. Before she could respond, the lights flickered, then went out. Liam stood instantly. That's not the generator. They both froze as the sound of leaves crunching echoed from outside. Slow, deliberate. Eliza backed up, her pulse racing. Are we being followed? Liam grabbed the gun he had hidden in the kitchen drawer and handed her a flashlight. Stay low, don't make a sound. They crept to the edge of the window. Through the fog, a figure moved. Dark coat, military precision, scanning the perimeter. A trained operative. Liam whispered, "He's not here to talk." And then, a crack. The back window shattered. A flashbang rolled across the floor. "Get down!" Liam shouted, grabbing Eliza and diving over the couch. The blast roared through the cabin, deafening, blinding. As smoke filled the room, a voice echoed through the chaos. "Hand over the drive, or die with it." Eliza coughed violently, her lungs burning as smoke coiled through the cabin like a living thing. The high-pitched ring from the flashbang hadn't faded, but she forced herself to move. Liam's grip was firm around her wrist as he dragged her behind the kitchen counter, shielding her with his body. "We have to move," he hissed. The figure entered the cabin, silent, methodical, dressed in black from head to toe, a tactical mask covering his face. He moved like a shadow, weapon raised, scanning for movement. Liam pulled the gun from his waistband, then passed her the flash drive. "Whatever happens, you keep that safe," he whispered. She shook her head. "I'm not leaving you." He cut her off with a firm glare. "Eliza, go." Before she could argue, Liam jumped up and fired 2 quick shots. The operative ducked, returned fire, and chaos erupted. Wood splintered, glass exploded. The laptop was blown clean off the table. Eliza scrambled to the back hallway, clutching the flash drive, heart pounding against her ribs like it wanted to escape. She found the small hatch leading to the crawl space, something Liam had shown her earlier in case of emergency. She ducked in, just as bullets tore through the door behind her. Liam shouted her name. Then, silence. She crawled through the dirt tunnel, blind and breathless, until she emerged into the freezing forest behind the cabin. Smoke rose in the distance. She turned back, only for a gloved hand to clamp over her mouth. "Don't scream." The voice was low, urgent, and unfamiliar. She was yanked backward into the trees, dragged into a waiting vehicle. Her arms flailed, but the moment the door slammed shut, she froze. In the front seat sat a woman in a sleek grey suit, her sharp features illuminated by a tablet screen displaying surveillance footage of the cabin. "Welcome to the real war, Mrs. Carter." "Who are you?" Eliza gasped. The woman turned slightly, eyes cold as steel. "Someone who's been hunting Victor Langston far longer than your husband." She held up a twin flash drive, identical to Eliza's. "And your mistake wasn't marrying a poor man. It was trusting anyone." The vehicle tore through the winding mountain road as Eliza sat frozen in the backseat, clutching her flash drive like a lifeline. The woman in the front, the stranger who had pulled her from the burning cabin, didn't speak again until they were far from the smoke. "You can relax," she said finally. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be cold." "Comforting," Eliza muttered. The woman turned her head slightly, a trace of a smirk playing on her lips. "Name's Neera Vale, CIA. Off the books. I've been tailing Langston's network for 6 years, your husband? He stirred the hornet's nest, and now the whole damn hive's out for blood." Eliza narrowed her eyes. "If you're trying to protect us, why take me and not Liam?" "Because right now, Liam Carter is their biggest target, and a perfect distraction." Eliza's heart twisted. "So, he's still alive?" "If he wasn't, Langston's men would have bragged by now. They're not subtle when they win." Neera turned the screen around to show a heat signature map blinking red dots moving through the forest near the cabin. "He's on the move, smart enough to use the old fire trails." Eliza stared at the screen. "He's alone?" "For now, but not for long. They're hunting him, and if we don't intercept, he won't survive the night." Neera pulled the vehicle to a stop near an abandoned ranger station and unlocked a metal case in the back. Inside were weapons, encrypted phones, and what looked like a mobile surveillance hub. "We go in together," Neera said, "but on my terms. You follow orders, no heroics, no running off." "And the flash drive?" Eliza asked, holding it tighter. "You give it to me and I promise you, Langston falls." Eliza didn't move. She stared at Neera, her pulse thudding in her ears. "I'm not handing over the only leverage we have, not until I know Liam's safe." Neera raised an eyebrow, almost impressed. "Then let's go get your husband." As they loaded up, neither woman saw the drone circling above them, its lens zooming in on the glowing heat signatures below. Inside Victor Langston's command van, an agent turned to him. They're teaming up. Victor sipped his scotch, calm as ever. Then burn the whole mountain. Let no one make it down alive. The forest was no longer quiet. It crackled with menace. The sky, once painted in moonlight, now glowed a sickening orange as smoke began to thread through the pines. From a ridge overlooking the valley, Eliza and Nira stood side by side, dressed in tactical gear. Below them, flames had begun to eat their way through the trees. They really set the woods on fire, Eliza whispered, stunned. Controlled burn? That's Langston's message. No evidence, no witnesses, Nira replied, slipping a headset into place. If Liam's still alive, we've got minutes, not hours. Using a thermal scanner, Nira tracked Liam's heat signature. He was moving fast, wounded but not down. She activated her comms line and spoke into the mic. Asset is active. Southward trail, 600 meters. He's heading toward the ravine. Eliza adjusted her grip on the small pistol Nira had given her. I'm going with you. Nira didn't argue this time. She nodded once, and the two women moved out. Every step through the forest felt like walking through war. Heat shimmered in the air, the crackle of fire growing louder. Gunfire rang out in the distance. Langston's operatives were hunting, sweeping the area in teams. Suddenly they heard it, a sharp grunt, followed by shouting, Liam! Eliza broke into a sprint before Nira could stop her, crashing through branches until she reached the edge of a small clearing, and froze. Liam was cornered, blood on his shirt, kneeling as two masked operatives aimed rifles at him. One moved closer to finish the job. Now, Eliza raised the pistol and fired. The shot hit the man in the shoulder. He dropped instantly. Nira appeared behind her and took out the second with precision. Liam collapsed forward as Eliza rushed to him. She dropped to her knees, gripping his face. You're alive, she choked out. Barely, he rasped. What are you doing here? Saving you. He smiled weakly. About time you pulled your weight, Mrs. Carter. Nira scanned the horizon. We've got to move. They're collapsing the perimeter. When that fire line reaches the ridge, it'll trap us in. Liam struggled to his feet, supported by Eliza. He looked between the two women. Let's finish this. Together, they vanished into the smoke and ash, chased by fire, hunted by men, bound by secrets. But now, for the first time, they were on the offensive. Dawn crept over the scorched forest like a ghost, casting a haunting light on the smoldering remains of what once stood tall. But Eliza, Liam, and Nira had made it through the night. Exhausted, bloodied, but alive. They reached a remote ranger station tucked deep into the valley, one of Nira's old fallback points, hidden from satellite detection. Liam lay on a cot, his wound freshly cleaned and bandaged. Eliza knelt beside him, brushing soot from his forehead. He grinned through the pain. Next time I crash your wedding, remind me to bring body armor. She chuckled, voice thick with emotion. You scared the hell out of me. He looked at her seriously. I thought I'd never see you again. I kept thinking about that night, when we met, how it wasn't supposed to happen. But somehow, it was exactly what I needed. She squeezed his hand, feeling the truth in his words. Meanwhile, Nira was already at work. She connected Eliza's flash drive and hers into a secure laptop rigged with a powerful transmitter. This is it, she said. The files, both yours and mine, complete the picture. Names, transactions. Project Heron's full blueprint. Project Heron, Eliza repeated. What was it really? An illegal surveillance weapon. A system capable of watching anyone, anywhere. Not just phone taps. Real-time biometric tracking. Behavior prediction. Deepfake control. Originally a government prototype, then hijacked by Victor and your father. They planned to sell it to foreign buyers. That fire in Switzerland 2 years ago? The buyer tried to leak the tech. He died in a boating accident. Eliza's skin crawled. If this goes public, it will collapse them, Nira finished. But the world will turn its head before it salutes. Edward Hartwell and Victor Langston are untouchable, unless... Liam pushed himself up. Unless we show the world everything, in real time. Eliza's eyes widened. A live broadcast. Nira nodded. Live leak. Their faces, their voices, the documents. All of it. Streamed to multiple news outlets, dark web forums, and internal agency drop boxes. Simultaneous. "And the encryption key?" Eliza asked. Neera glanced at Liam. "That's where you come in. Your uncle hid the decryption code in a vault beneath Carter Hall." Liam's face hardened. "Then that's where we go next." But miles away, inside Victor Langston's war room, a young agent rushed forward. "Sir, they've united the drives." Victor's jaw flexed. "Then we scorch the roots? Kill the leak, burn the hall, and bring me Eliza Carter's head. This time no survivors." Carter Hall stood like a wounded king. Once regal, now abandoned, its stone walls cracked and ivy-covered. It was the last place Liam ever wanted to return to. The last time he'd walked these grounds he was 17, running from flashing lights and the blood of a man he loved, his uncle, Charles Carter. Now, he stood at the iron gates with Eliza and Neera at his side, the weight of vengeance, truth, and destiny pressing down on his shoulders. Eliza stared up at the old mansion. "This is where you grew up?" He nodded. "This is where they tried to erase me." The trio moved quickly, slipping through a hidden passage Liam remembered from childhood. Dust hung thick in the air. Time had stolen the shine, but not the history. They made their way to the study, behind the old grandfather clock. Liam knelt, pressed a sequence of tiles on the marble floor, then lifted the rug to reveal a hidden vault. He punched in a code, the date of Charles Carter's death. The floor clicked, the stone slab shifted, and the vault door creaked open. Inside sat a single hard drive, marked with a symbol they'd seen before, Project Heron. Neera slid it into her secure drive. "This holds the key. This is the spine of the beast." Suddenly, a noise, boots on old wood, then shouting, "Gunfire!" They dropped instantly, windows shattered, as Victor's men swarmed the hall from every angle. "They found us!" Eliza gasped. Liam pulled her behind a fallen pillar. Neera returned fire, cool and precise. "We need to split," Neera said. "I'll upload the file from the van. You two get out the West Wing and make noise. Draw them away." Liam protested. "I'm not leaving you." She threw him the van keys. "This isn't about me, it's about the truth." She glanced at Eliza. "And her." Liam grabbed Eliza's hand. "Let's go." They ran, bullets behind them, truth ahead of them. As Neera held her ground, plugging in the drive, Victor's voice came through her comms. "You really think one file will destroy me?" "No," Neera said, smiling grimly. "But the people watching it will." She hit mini. Somewhere in the world, screens began to flicker, and the world started to wake up. Newsrooms across the globe blinked to life, first confused, then electrified, as screens blacked out and rebooted with one message. Live file dump, Project Heron leak. Then chaos. Footage began to roll. Surveillance records, secret meetings, audio files, spreadsheets linking government officials, corporate moguls, and foreign agents. And at the center of it all, two names: Victor Langston and Edward Hartwell. Eliza and Liam, breathless and bruised, stumbled out of the West Wing of Carter Hall just as the first sirens echoed in the distance. Liam's burner phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out. Hundreds of messages flooded in from every contact Neera had routed the stream through. "It's working," he said. "They're watching. They believe it." Eliza leaned against the wall, trying to steady her heart. "My father, he's finished." Liam looked at her gently. "So, are you? If you want to be, you can walk away from all of it now, start over, without his shadow." Before she could reply, a low growl of tires on gravel reached them. Too late. A convoy of black SUVs pulled into the drive. Armed men spilled out. Victor Langston himself stepped from the front car, looking less like a king now and more like a desperate man watching his empire crumble. He spotted Eliza first. "What have you done?" he hissed, storming toward her with deadly intent. Liam stepped in front of her, gun raised. "Not one more step." Victor laughed bitterly. "You think this leak will stop what I've built? Power survives, boy. You can't kill it with a file." "No," Liam said, "but we can make the world see you for what you are." Victor raised his hand to signal his men. Suddenly, spotlights. Helicopters. Sirens. The woods filled with FBI agents, US Marshals, and tactical forces. Dozens of red dots lit up across Victor's chest. "Drop your weapons," a voice boomed. Victor's face fell for the first time. Not fear, defeat. He turned to Eliza one last time. "Your father will burn for this too, you'll see." And then he dropped to his knees. Eliza stepped forward, voice cold. "Then I'll light the match myself." Behind her, Liam took her hand. The world had watched. The truth had won. But the war still had one more chapter. Edward Hartwell sat in his penthouse office, high above the skyline, watching his empire unravel in real time. Multiple networks were broadcasting his name, his face, his voice, tied to secret files, illegal dealings, and classified meetings tied to Project Heron. His private phone rang. He didn't answer. His lawyer texted, "Resign now, or the FBI will arrest you on camera." He poured himself a drink instead. The man who had spent a lifetime sculpting perfection from power was now the face of a global scandal. And worst of all, it had been his own daughter who struck the final blow. A sudden knock at the door. Before he could react, the double doors burst open. Eliza walked in. Behind her, 2 federal agents hovered, waiting. "Father," she said calmly, "we need to talk." His eyes narrowed. "You don't get to waltz in here and act like you've won." "I didn't win," she replied. "I survived." He stood, slamming his glass against the desk. "Everything I did was to protect this family. Our legacy." She stepped closer, unwavering. "You built our legacy on the backs of the innocent, on secrets, on blood. You think you're better than me now, because you married a Carter, because you leaked files?" "No," she said, "because I chose truth over fear, and I didn't hide when it got hard." Edward Hartwell, one of the most powerful men in America, fell silent as the agent stepped forward. "Mr. Hartwell, you're under federal investigation for conspiracy, corporate espionage, and obstruction of justice. You'll come with us." He looked at Eliza one last time. "You betrayed your bloodline." "No, I ended a curse," she said. As they led him away, Eliza exhaled deeply. Outside the building, Liam waited, leaning against a black car. As she stepped out, he opened the door. "It's done," she said softly. "Not yet," he replied. "There's still one last thing we need to settle." She turned to him. "What?" He smiled faintly. "Yes." Rain began to fall gently, softening the sharpness of the night. The chaos had died down, but the weight of everything still hung over Eliza like a heavy cloak. She sat across from Liam in a quiet cafe on the edge of the city, tucked away from press, agents, and the world they had just exposed. "It's strange," she said, staring at the steam rising from her untouched coffee. "I fought my whole life to protect a name, and now I'm free from it. I don't know who I am." Liam leaned back, watching her carefully. "You're stronger than you were. Clearer. You've got scars now, sure, but they're yours, not your father's." She looked up at him. "And what about you?" He smirked slightly. "Still married to a stranger I met at the altar." They both laughed, quietly, tenderly, but beneath the smile, Eliza's eyes clouded. "This marriage, it was an accident, Liam, one big crazy accident." He nodded slowly. Maybe. Or maybe it was the one accident that saved both our lives." She bit her lip, heart thudding louder than she wanted to admit. "You could leave now, walk away, start over with a clean name." "I could," he said, "but then I'd miss watching you rebuild the world your own way. I'd miss arguing with you, fighting beside you, loving you." She blinked, startled. "Loving me?" "Yeah, Eliza. Somewhere between the lies and the bullets, I fell in love with you." She said nothing for a moment. Her heart was pounding again, but this time, it didn't feel like panic. "I don't want another arranged future," she said. "I don't want a strategy. I want something real." "Then stay," Liam whispered. "Stay with me. Let's make it real." She reached across the table and took his hand. "We started with vows we never meant, but maybe now we can say them for real." And just like that, 2 strangers who had once stood at the wrong altar chose each other on purpose. A year later, the sun bathed the Tuscan countryside in golden light as guests gathered at a small vineyard chapel tucked between rolling hills and olive trees. There were no bodyguards this time, no journalists, no secret files, no ghosts of power, Just family, friends, and a quiet promise of peace. Eliza stood in front of the mirror in a simple ivory gown, her hair pinned softly, her heart steady. Camille adjusted the veil with a grin. "Second time's the charm, huh?" Eliza laughed. "This is the first one that counts." Outside, Liam waited beneath an arch of wildflowers. He wore a tailored suit, but no tie, his hair slightly windswept, his smile boyish and real. He turned as she walked down the aisle, not with a practiced smile for cameras, but with tears in his eyes and gratitude in his soul. He had walked through fire. So had she, and somehow they had found their way back to the moment they were promised from the start, not by accident, but by choice. The ceremony was short, intimate, honest. No audience, no scandal, just love. When the officiant asked for their vows, Eliza stepped forward first. "I once thought love was something that could be arranged, controlled. But you ruined that belief. You turned my world upside down, and from the chaos you gave me clarity. I don't just love you, Liam. I choose you. Every day, even when it's hard, especially then." Liam took her hands. "You showed me the truth isn't just something you uncover, it's something you fight for. I didn't come looking for love that day, but somehow it found me, in you. You're my home, Eliza." They kissed as husband and wife, for the second time, but truly for the first. And somewhere far from revenge, legacy, and bloodlines, two people finally began the life they never saw coming. Not as a mistake, but as a miracle